I had a baby. I'm going to give you a gift of $50,000 for the baby, okay? Huh. Taken aback by Catherine's carefree tone, I couldn't help but exclaim. I haven't been in touch with Catherine for many years. After what had happened. And yet, she wants to be congratulated. Something's wrong. When I told my new husband, Tom, about this, he surprisingly suggested, let's both go and give a birth celebration gift. Unbelievable. But it seemed Tom had something in mind. So, I decided to go with Tom to Catherine's house. It was a long-awaited reunion with Catherine. We congratulated her with smiles. Congratulations on the birth, Catherine. This is our gift for the baby. Tom handed over a piece of paper to Catherine with a smile. As soon as she saw it, Catherine's face changed. What is this? Catherine turned pale. We meet again, Catherine. Saying that, Tom took off his hat and smiled cunningly. Seeing Tom clearly, Catherine froze, her eyes wide open. You are? And then, she started trembling pitifully. My name is Michelle. I just turned 30. My husband, Tom, is 35, and we have a recently turned 4-year-old daughter, Mary. We live as a family of 3. Life is ordinary and peaceful, but the journey to get here wasn't smooth. In fact, this is my second marriage. My first marriage was about 5 years ago. Mary is the child of my ex-husband, Alex. He has also remarried to my younger sister, Catherine. Catherine is 29, 1 year younger than me. We should have remained close as adults, given our close age. However, I haven't been in touch with Catherine for a long time, due to certain events. People unaware of the situation sometimes say things like, sisters fighting? Make up soon. But what Catherine did to me isn't something that can be easily forgiven. What happened between us sisters involves complex circumstances. As children, Catherine and I were like any other close siblings. The change began when Catherine entered middle school. She realized she was pretty, became interested in fashion, and started experimenting with clothes and hairstyles. She also became more invested in dieting. As a result, her studies suffered. She often got into trouble with our parents and teachers. Additionally, my presence probably added pressure. I was relatively good at studies, maintaining decent grades, which led to comparisons, making Catherine unhappy. I tried to support her. I asked our parents not to scold her too much and even helped her with her studies occasionally. But it seemed futile, as she had no interest in academics. Her grades didn't improve, and she dove deeper into beauty and fashion. As she got older, Catherine started wearing makeup, and even appeared as a reader model in magazines by the time she was in high school. Her social circle became more flamboyant. However, she continued to look up to me. Big sis, you're top of your class again. You're really smart. I admire you so much. I brag about you to all my friends. She would often speak to me so kindly. Eventually, I enrolled in a prestigious university, and a year later, Catherine went to a beauty school. It was around that time when something unsettling happened. I was at a cafe near the train station, working on a report, when I heard a familiar voice. It was Catherine and her friends. I remembered she sometimes used this cafe. It was awkward, but from their position, they couldn't see me, so I decided to stay. After a while, one of Catherine's friends said, "Isn't this cafe near the women's university? Catherine's sister goes there, right? She must be really smart." Then, Catherine said something unbelievable. "Oh, you mean that geeky, plain-looking nerd?" I was stunned. It was unmistakably Catherine's voice. Wow, Catherine, that's harsh. Are you two not close? It's not like that. We get along on the surface. But she's such a nerd, never cares about fashion, and honestly, she looks so dowdy. Even when we meet in town, I hope she doesn't talk to me. She's always buried in her studies, praised by teachers and parents. So she's probably happy being as unfashionable as she is. Catherine laughed, ahaha. I was frozen, unable to move. I had no idea she thought of me that way. Shocked and angry, I was left in disbelief. After that incident, I came home much later than usual. Catherine's behavior was the same as always. Welcome back, big sis. You're late. Were you studying at the library again? You really are a hard worker. My mind was in turmoil. Which Catherine was the real one? However, I didn't have the courage to confront her about what I had overheard. So, I continued living as if nothing had changed on the surface. The unease in my heart didn't clear up. Perhaps because of this? I decided to move out of my parents' house after graduating from university and starting a job. From then on, I rarely saw Catherine as we used to. Time passed, and I turned 25. Around this time, I was set to marry Alex, a classmate from my university days. We reconnected at an alumni meeting and hit it off. Alex was an ordinary company employee, but his family was wealthy, owning a lot of land in prime urban areas. But that didn't matter to me. I was attracted to Alex's generous personality. With my wedding approaching, I returned home to introduce Alex to my family, where, of course, Catherine was also present. Catherine, now a working adult, had become an esthetician. She seemed to pay a lot of attention to beauty. Her makeup, style, and fashion were perfect, like a model. I was tense for a moment, but Catherine, just like before, laughed freely and congratulated us. My heart gradually warmed up to her again. Maybe at that time, Catherine was just going through a rebellious phase. Years have passed, and we've both grown up. I convinced myself of this. Soon, Alex, Catherine, and I, being close in age, became good friends. Sometimes, the three of us would hang out together. It would have been worrying for Alex if Catherine and I remained awkward around each other. This is how it should be. After marrying Alex, I soon became pregnant. I had decided to give birth in my hometown. So, after discussing it with my parents, I started visiting a hospital near my family home. It was a busy time. I had severe morning sickness and had to be hospitalized for a while. My parents came to visit, but I rarely saw Alex and Catherine. However, I was too ill to worry about that. I didn't have the energy to spare on anything else. Looking back, I think I should have been more attentive. If I had been, maybe I would have noticed something was amiss. Then, I went into labor and gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We named her Mary. But my health didn't improve for a while, so I had to recuperate at my parents' house. Alex, busy with work, couldn't visit, and we only communicated through messages and phone calls. Gradually, my health started to improve, and I was finally able to return to the home where Alex was waiting. I wondered what Alex would say when he saw the baby. With such thoughts in mind, I opened the door to our house. "Alex, I'm home." No response. When I opened the living room door, I was met with a shocking sight. There were Alex and Catherine, in a compromising position. What? I was speechless. Alex hurriedly dressed, while Catherine, in contrast, seemed eerily calm. What's the meaning of this? Me, Michelle, this is a misunderstanding. Welcome back, big sis. Catherine said with a sly smile. It's not a welcome back. Explain this to me. What? Isn't it obvious? We're in this kind of relationship. Catherine nonchalantly said this, draping her arm around Alex. My head was spinning. What was Catherine talking about? Alex, seeming resigned, apologized. I'm sorry. What do you mean sorry? I can't believe this. It's unbelievable, both of you. Even with me and Mary here, this is crazy. Confused, I impulsively ran out of the house. But I had nowhere to go. Reluctantly, I decided to return to my parents' house with Mary. As I was explaining the situation to my parents, my phone rang. It was Alex. I'm sorry for startling you earlier, Michelle. But I've fallen for Catherine. I want a divorce. What? What are you talking about? You know we have Mary, right? I'll pay child support. So? I couldn't understand what he was saying. Confused, I listened to Alex's explanation. He said he thought Catherine was cute the first time he saw her. But she was his wife's sister. As relatives close in age, they got along well, the three of them. Then, when I was hospitalized due to morning sickness, their relationship rapidly developed. Catherine, crying, confessed that she had been constantly mocked by me since we were kids. My sister always called me stupid. I never said such terrible things. It was clearly a lie from Catherine. However, Alex believed her story. His own complexes were also involved in this. Actually, Alex had gotten into university by making a large donation, as his family was wealthy. In short, it was a backdoor entry. He hadn't gotten into the prestigious university on his own merit. He seemed to have developed a complex about this, especially towards me, who had entered the university through regular admission. Because of this background, Alex empathized with Catherine. He completely believed her story and was disappointed in me on his own. You are indeed smart and capable. But that doesn't give you the right to look down on Catherine. I'm disappointed in you. Marrying someone so mean-spirited and nasty was a mistake. What are you talking about? That's all lies from Catherine. Don't believe her. No, I won't be fooled. I'll file the divorce with you. Wait a minute. Listen to me. My cries were in vain as the call ended. I couldn't believe it. He actually believed such lies. I was dumbfounded. A few days later, shocked by everything that had happened, I fell ill with a fever. Knowing everything, my parents comforted me and took care of Mary. I felt helpless. I needed to recover quickly and sort out this situation. While thinking this, the front door opened. I thought it was someone else, but when I left my room, it was Catherine. "Oh, big sis, you're here." She said it so casually as soon as she returned. I couldn't control my trembling anger. What are you saying? What do you mean, Catherine? Lying and deceiving Alex. I yelled. Hearing the commotion, my parents came and tried to calm things down, but we didn't stop. I've always hated you, big sis. Catherine spoke in a lower tone than usual, speaking slowly. I couldn't stand you, big sis. Getting all the attention and love just because you were good at studying. That's why. I wanted to take away something important from you. The house fell silent upon hearing Catherine's confession. I couldn't believe she had harbored such thoughts. Also, I'm glad I focused on beauty. Alex is just a regular guy. He fell for me so easily. Catherine spoke with a smile. I was speechless. So, the Catherine I saw in the cafe was her true self. What had I been seeing all this time? The real Catherine hated me this much. I had only seen the convenient illusion of a doting Catherine. While I stood there dazed, Catherine grabbed her things and headed for the door. Alex's house needs a makeover. I hate your bland interior, big sis. I'm going to change everything to suit my taste. Apparently, she intended to stay at Alex's house. Ignoring our parents' admonitions, Catherine left briskly. Dizzy, I collapsed in the hallway. Then, I heard my daughter Mary crying from her room. I needed to go and comfort her, but my body wouldn't move. Supported by my parents, I finally managed to stand up. I don't remember much after that. All I knew was that I didn't want to see Catherine and Alex's faces again. After discussing it with my parents, we concluded that divorce was the only option. I cried, not for myself, but for Mary. Even in this situation, Alex showed no concern for Mary. He was such a terrible father. But perhaps, it's better not to have such a father around. That thought was one of the reasons I decided to divorce. I quickly grabbed the divorce papers that were mailed to me and submitted them to the court. And so, my first marriage ended abruptly. Fortunately, my parents stood by my side. They harshly scolded Catherine, telling her not to return home again. Thanks to that, I no longer had to meet Catherine. Gradually, I regained my composure. Catherine and Alex apparently got married, but that no longer mattered to me. My focus was solely on taking care of Mary. Time passed. Luckily, my workplace was within commuting distance from my parents' home. So I didn't have to change jobs. I devoted myself to work. The alimony was paid without fail, but as a single mother, I needed to save as much money as possible. I was a bit anxious. Perhaps noticing this, my friend seemed concerned. One day, a friend offered to introduce me to a man she knew. I was hesitant at first, but she assured me he was a sincere person, so I agreed to meet him. His name was Tom. He was 5 years older than me, tall, and well-built. Contrary to my initial impression of him being intimidating, he turned out to be serious and kind. He had been so focused on his work that he hadn't had much experience with women. We were naturally drawn to each other. We went out together with Mary. And she grew fond of him too. Then one day, Tom told me he wanted to protect me and Mary from now on. His words moved me to tears. Eventually, we got married. Now, we are a family of 3, living an ordinary but happy life. I thought I had no more connection with Catherine. But then one day, while relaxing at home, my phone rang. I answered without thinking. Hey, big sis, how are you? Hearing Catherine's voice on the other end, I was horrified. I regretted not checking the screen before answering, but it was too late. What do you want? I responded as coldly as possible. I didn't want my peaceful life to be disturbed any further. Then, Catherine cheerfully said, I had a baby. I expect a gift of $50,000 from you. What? Despite years of no contact. She wanted me to celebrate and even mentioned an outrageous amount of $50,000. I was outraged, but Catherine, unconcerned, chattered away about her recent life. She continued working as an esthetician and had opened her own salon about 3 years ago. She managed to rent land and a building for her salon from Alex's parents, setting it up in a prime location. She boasted about how well the business was doing. It was just a show-off. I was so disgusted with her self-centeredness that I ended the call quickly. Unbelievable. How could she have the audacity to call me? My anger lingered for quite a while. Late at night, when Tom came home, I immediately told him about the incident. He's been busy with work lately, coming home late. But no matter how busy, he always makes it a point to have dinner at home. We both value our communication as a couple, and have always made it a point to talk about everything. Over dinner, Tom said, Wait, you got a call from that sister? She's running an aesthetic salon now? Seems like it. Her former husband was rich. So it looks like he helped with the funding. Huh? What's her name again? It's Catherine. After I answered, Tom thought for a moment and then said, I see. That explains it. What? What happened? Well, how about we both visit Miss Catherine's house with a birth gift? Tom said this with a cunning smile. What? Why would we do that? I don't want to. Just wait. I have a plan. After that, Tom shared some facts and a suggestion with me. I couldn't hide my surprise upon hearing it. When the weekend arrived, Tom and I, having left Mary with my parents, arrived at Catherine's house. It was a large and impressive house. Welcome. Opening the door, a smiling Catherine greeted us. She looked perfect, even after giving birth. It's been a while. You haven't changed, Catherine. I forced a smile. Then, Catherine said with a smirk. Of course not. I never neglect my beauty routine. Unlike someone who got cheated on. Catherine was still the same. I was irritated but held back for now. Catherine led us into a spacious living room. A baby was sleeping in a crib. Look, my daughter. Her name is Maria. Cute, isn't she? Maria indeed looked adorable and very much like Catherine. However, I couldn't help but think her features seemed a bit harsh. Was it just my imagination? By the way, do you have the thing I mentioned? Catherine made a hand gesture indicating money. How audacious could she be? Just as I was about to retort, Tom placed his hand on my shoulder. Nice to meet you. I'm Tom, Michelle's husband. As Tom greeted, he was wearing a hat pulled down over his eyes. Oh, hello. Catherine muttered uninterestedly. Tom quickly pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket. This is our gift for the birth. Congratulations on your baby, Catherine. Catherine's face changed color when she saw the paper. What is this? Catherine turned pale. Tom then swiftly removed his hat. We meet again, Miss Catherine. I'm Tom from the New York Metropolitan Police Department. Upon seeing Tom clearly, Catherine was shocked, her eyes wide open. You? The detective who visited my salon. She began to tremble uncontrollably. The birth gift Tom handed over was actually a search warrant. It was a court's permission allowing a search and seizure at her home. Catherine was visibly shaken. In fact, she had been committing fraud in her beauty salon. She deceived her customers with false promises like guaranteed weight loss, selling dubious products. She enrolled them in exorbitantly priced, ineffective courses without proper explanation. Such practices had become routine for her. Initially, the consumer center issued a warning, but Catherine ignored it. Instead, the number of victims only increased. She coerced people into contracts, and in some cases, she even filled out the application forms herself without their consent. The situation escalated, and multiple complaints were filed against her. Eventually, the police began to raid her salon, and the officer in charge was Tom. His profession was a police officer. However, Catherine had cleverly hidden the evidence in her salon. It was difficult for the police to catch her red-handed. The investigation had been challenging, which explained why Tom had been coming home late recently. Then, by coincidence, it was discovered that the investigation's subject was my sister. The call about the birth gift provided an excuse to visit her home. Fearing that a police visit would raise her guard, Tom decided to use the birth gift as a pretext. Thus, we successfully entered Catherine's home, keeping Tom's identity hidden until the last moment. Tom quickly signaled his team with a radio. Simultaneously, several police officers who had been waiting outside entered the house. Sorry, but we had to do this to get inside your house. Then Alex arrived. What's all this commotion? What's going on, Catherine? Alex questioned her, but Catherine could only groan, unable to answer. The police officers began searching the house, confiscating various items in cardboard boxes. As Alex began to grasp the situation, he pressed Catherine even more. He didn't seem to notice that I was there. In her panic, Catherine did something unexpected. She lashed out at the police officers who had entered the house. "Stop it. Don't mess up my house," Catherine screamed. Tom raised his voice. "Don't interfere. I'll arrest you for obstructing public duties." Hearing the threat of arrest, Catherine reluctantly let go, her face showing frustration. However, she was not one to give up easily. She glared at Tom with a sharp look. "I'll tell Alex's father. He knows many high-ranking police officials. He can make this disappear, no matter what." Catherine mentioned Alex's father, a wealthy man with extensive connections and acquaintances among powerful people. It wasn't surprising that she was counting on Alex's father's influence. Catherine turned to Alex and shouted, "You can do it, right? Your father can handle it. He's always been donating money here and there, getting favors in return." "Hey, what are you saying in front of the police?" Alex was flustered. Catherine, too overwhelmed to think clearly, was blurting out things without realizing the implications. Tom spoke calmly. "Your family. A long-standing line of landowners, I believe. Alex's father, a wealthy man who once served as a city councilman." What's that got to do with anything? He's already been charged with bribery in a corruption case. He's currently in custody. What? My father. Now it was Alex's turn to be thrown into confusion. His family, despite their wealth, seemed to be mired in corruption. Given Alex's backdoor university admission, it appeared that solving problems with money was their norm. Wait, why is my father-in-law involved in something like that? I don't know anything about that. But Catherine, you were committing fraud in the salon. Shut up. That's not the issue right now. Alex and Catherine started arguing bitterly. Amidst the chaos, I quietly addressed Catherine. "Why don't you just give up? This is pathetic." "What did you say?" "You lied again. 4 years ago, you made up stories about me to sway Alex and trampled on my feelings. Now, for your own benefit, you deceive your customers. No matter how beautiful you are on the outside, your heart is ugly, the worst kind of person. You." Just as Catherine was about to retort, a voice of a police officer came from the back room. "We found a business computer." Damn. The computer likely contained the evidence. Catherine bit her lip in frustration. "Catherine. We'll discuss the details at the police station. You need to come with us." Catherine hung her head in despair, seemingly out of energy to resist any further. At the station, Catherine initially denied the fraud charges. However, after analyzing the data on the computer, incriminating evidence was found. Catherine was arrested. The charges against her were extensive, including fraud, coercion, and forgery of private documents. It turned out that her beauty salon, which she had opened about 3 years ago, had been in the red from the start. Her aggressive product promotion was a desperate attempt to secure sales. However, she had been hiding the dire financial situation from everyone, likely due to pride and the need to maintain appearances after claiming the business was thriving. Her sudden demand for $50,000 from me was probably an attempt to cover the salon's losses under the guise of a birth gift. The number of victims who filed complaints against Catherine reached several dozen. Her salon, already struggling, faced additional financial ruin due to liability claims and was eventually closed down. This led to bankruptcy. Alex and his family, who had invested in the business, were furious. Naturally, Catherine and Alex ended up divorcing. However, Alex's family wasn't safe either. His father was arrested for bribery. With the family scrambling for funds, all their land holdings had to be sold off. Alex, who had been working in his father's real estate business, found himself ousted from the company following his father's arrest. Control of the company shifted to other executives not related to his family. Alex eventually found a new job at a completely unrelated company through his connections. However, he struggled with the demanding, low-paying job and was overwhelmed by the unfamiliar work. In such circumstances, he couldn't possibly take care of a child. Maria, the daughter of Catherine and Alex, was temporarily placed in a child protection facility. Maria was born into such a family. It seemed nothing but unfortunate. Amidst the tumultuous days, I found myself pondering over something. Months later, I attended Catherine's trial as an observer. I wanted to see for myself whether Catherine had shown any remorse. It felt like my final duty as her sister. But the reality was not so kind. In the courtroom, Catherine kept repeating, "I did nothing wrong." She denied everything, even with evidence of fraud presented. "I only helped because the customers said they wanted to lose weight. To be beautiful," she argued. Her face was haggard, and her expression was terrifying. Her hair was unkempt, and the beauty she had once prided herself on was gone. It seemed her lifestyle had finally reflected on her face. Catherine's appearance was nothing short of tragic. Watching Catherine, I reflected on everything that had happened. It all started with her jealousy of me. But I had never been cruel to her. Our parents, though initially critical of Catherine's lack of interest in studies, eventually stopped scolding her. Catherine developed her own complexes and twisted perceptions. Then, she began to lie blatantly. The lies continued until they became her reality. Now, Catherine was just relentlessly avoiding the truth. She fabricated a distorted reality, never admitting her own faults. And this was the result. Poor Catherine. Eventually, the verdict was announced. Due to the severity of her actions, she received a 3-year prison sentence without the possibility of a suspended sentence. It was to be expected. Yet, I still hoped she would come to her senses. I wished she would consider, even a little, the pain she caused others because of her lies. I hoped she would take a hard look at herself while in prison. Some months later, on a holiday, Mary, Tom, and I were at the park. We spread out a picnic on the grass, enjoying a light-hearted moment. "Let's eat the sandwiches now. I want the tuna one." "Hey, Mary, save some for your dad too." Mary laughed joyfully at Tom's words. Our life had returned to its happy normalcy. Reflecting on it, the family I grew up in was originally just as peaceful. If there's one thing I've learned from everything that's happened, it's that I'm not perfect either. I've felt envy towards others too. But still, rather than hurting someone out of petty jealousy, I want to cherish the feeling of caring for others. And I want to focus on the small joys of daily life. By doing so, I believe we can avoid being trapped by dark emotions. Mary and Tom were eating their sandwiches with relish. I silently wished for these tranquil days to last forever.